Hey, soldiers, you are not going to be able to believe how drastically the American standard of living has fallen. I mean, these facts that we have for you today are just phenomenal. And look, right now, as I record this, it's December 26th. So we're in the midst of the holidays. So listen, as we head toward those New Year's Eve parties, your liberal friends and family who believe everything that comes out of this government, share these facts with them, because you can lie for just a specific and limited period of time before the truth starts to become apparent. And the truth has become apparent here in the American standard of living. We have facts. All right. So when the government continually lies about whether or not we're in a recession, what the actual inflation rate is, what the jobs picture really looks like, we've gone over that ad nauseum, how the government has actually inflated the jobs numbers by 99%. Now we've got the Bureau of Labor Statistics coming out and saying, no, the Fed is wrong. How can the Fed be wrong when their number takes longer to calculate? BLS, you take a week to develop your number. And again, the Bureau of Labor Statistics is beholden to the Biden administration because they are a part of the executive branch. Now, let's get into this, because this is just, it's disappointing. It's sad, because a lot of people believe in what this government is doing, and meanwhile, their standard of living is falling off of a cliff. As the economy falters, nearly 1/3 of millennials are turning to their parents for financial support, according to a recent report. Millennials. Now, this is the generation, the Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street generation, defund the police, radical, liberal ideology, save the planet, all of these feel-good measures that have been turned into government policy. But how's it working out for you individually? Now, parents, you also need to pay close attention to this, because ideally, you want your children to maybe contribute to helping you out as you age. Maybe not financially, but hey, maybe come over every once in a while, cook you a meal, make sure the place is straight, stuff like that. Fat chance of that happening. Well, if they're in the house with you, then, maybe. For parents, supporting grown children can be a burden when their own financial security is at stake. That's right. So it's not like the parents are doing gangbusters here with their own finances. As the cost of living skyrockets, many adults are turning to a familiar safety net, mom and dad. Nearly 1/3 of millennials and Generation Z people over the age of 18 get financial support from their parents, according to a new survey by personal finance site Credit Karma. The site polled more than 1,000 adults in October. Now, I could sit here and say, oh, well, when I was coming up, and this is true, I got a reprieve. I got till 20 because I was going to college. So I got a couple of more years to stay in the house. But when I left, man, I never went back to my mom's house for even a meal. All right? Because she had done her job. My parents had raised me. Our extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they had done their job, right? But I got to be honest, back when I got started, early and mid 90s, we didn't have the types of financial conditions that we have now. Now, the converse argument is we also don't have the level of opportunity that we have now. We really do. Okay, have a tremendous amount of opportunity. I am speaking to you via, an internet connection and a inexpensive camera, okay? Didn't have that capability to speak to an audience around the world and get paid for it back when I was starting out. However, the price pressures that are out there in terms of inflation are just destroying lives at this point, destroying the future of the very generation that is so wild about these policies. More than half of parents with adult children said their kids are living with them. Another 48% said they pay for their kids' cell phone plan, car payments, or other monthly bills. You know what would have happened if I'd relied on my mother to pay my car note or relied on my father to pay my cell phone bill? I would have been catching the bus and using a payphone. But, hey, it is what it is. We're talking facts here. I'm not going to do the...
So I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time.
Nearly a quarter also said they provide their adult children with a regular allowance, pay some or all of their rent, or have them as an authorized user on their credit card, the report found. Feel this, absorb what is happening here in America as we slide further and further toward the status of a has-been, an economic has-been. Quote, what used to be paying your kid's cell phone bill every few months has now turned into a much more extensive set of expenses for many parents, said Courtney Alev, Credit Karma's consumer financial advocate. Now, this next part is absolutely true, and this is kind of what we see in other countries and other cultures. As we slide away from our first world status, economically and otherwise, we're going to have to take a page out of the book of some of these other cultures. During the pandemic, the number of adults moving back in with their parents, often referred to as boomerang kids, temporarily spiked to a historic high. Most said they initially moved in with their parents out of necessity or to save money. Hefty student loan bills from college and soaring housing costs have put a financial stranglehold on those just starting out. The surging cost of living and sky-high rents are making it harder to move on. The number of households with 2 or more adult generations has quadrupled over the past 5 decades, according to a separate report by the Pew Research Center based on census data from 1971 to 2021. Such households now represent 18% of the U.S. population. So we've got almost 20% of American households are multi-generational, okay? Because that's the only way that people can afford to live. Living existence here in this society is expensive, right? Finances are, of course, the number one reason families are doubling up, Pew found, due in part to ballooning student debt and housing costs. And look, I want to add medical costs too. Okay, I'm always telling you guys how part of my client base includes the Medicaid and Medicare clientele. And it's tough, man. Just hearing the stories is heartbreaking. All right. So if you can say, hey, look, let's pool our resources. We're going to be able to, buy food and cook it, and that'll be less expensive than going out to eat or just, trying to buy something for a family of one and it spoils. And, so there are advantages to this. There's another big advantage to it that I'll get to in a minute. Now, 25% of young adults live in a multi-generational household, up from just 9% 5 decades ago. In most cases, 25 to 34-year-olds are living in the home of one or both of their parents. A smaller share live in their own home and have a parent or other older relative staying with them. And again, this has a big advantage in it, all right? That you can always snatch a silver lining out of every cloud. Not surprisingly, older parents are also much more likely to pay for most of the expenses when 2 or more generations share a home. Well, that's not surprising because they've got the money, right? They've worked a lifetime. The typical 25 to 34-year-old in a multi-generational household contributes 22% of the total household income, Pew found. For parents, however, supporting grown children can be a substantial drain at a time when their own financial security is at risk. In an economy that has produced the highest inflation rate since the early 1980s, the cost of providing support has risen sharply. According to Credit Karma, 69% of the parents who help their adult children said it causes them financial stress. Quote, it's essential that parents do what they can to first take care of themselves financially before offering financial support to their children, unquote, Alev said. Now, when I was in the fire department, that's basically the mantra that they would preach. You got to keep yourself healthy, safe to the extent that you can before you can help anybody else. All right, you got to look out for number one, because if you don't, then there will be no number twos to look out for. And the same holds true with regard to finances. Like with anything, make a budget for your income and expenses, factoring in savings, debt repayment, and if possible, contributions to a retirement fund. Listen, if you are going to have a child move in or not leave after a certain age, or you're going to have a parent move in, then look, have a meeting, guys. Figure it out. This is an opportunity to put you all in a better financial situation. Okay, there's one gas and electric bill. There's one water sewer bill. Hey, Netflix just came out today and said they're thinking about prosecuting people who pirate their service. So you're all in the same house. Hey, you can watch as much Netflix as you want off of one account. That's right, Netflix. I said it. Once you've done that work, see how much you have left over feasibly to help your adult kids and set expectations with them. You might even consider an expiration date to give your adult children a timeline for when they need to get back on their feet. Now, the big opportunity here is that if you're pooling financial resources, consolidating bills, then that leaves open the possibility for you to be able to invest like nobody's business. If you are not responsible for 100% of the rent or mortgage, again, water, sewer, gas and electric, Netflix, if you're not responsible for 100% of that, then you can certainly allocate funds toward your wealth building mission. All right. These times are not going to be with us always, but I want people to also understand that political policies have consequences. So if you are not satisfied with your situation because you just graduated college and you can't see yourself, even though you went out there and you got the new job, but things are so doggone expensive now that you can't possibly see your way into being able to foot the bill for rent and all the other bills associated with it, not to mention a car payment, insurance, and all that good stuff, and occasionally, maybe every 6 weeks or so, a T-bone steak, then this may be an alternative. But what is a greater solution is to stop putting people in office who do not have your best financial interest at heart. All right? This stuff, everything that the left wants to give away, it costs money. Everything that the Republican Party resists, opposing, all this stuff costs money. And in this new $1.7 trillion bill, believe me, those Republicans got just as much as the Democrats, if not more. So don't hand me the party allegiance thing. It's not working for any of us financially, okay? It's not working for any of us. The solution in elective politics is to let these people know that they can be put out of office no matter what party they're in. Do not share some crazy allegiance to a particular party while you are living in your mama's basement at the age of 23. All right? Do not hold fast to some political ideology that is not working for you if you've had to move in with your adult children. Now, take a look at this video we recently did, and it proves what I'm saying. You, the American citizen, you are not the number one priority of this government. In fact, if you are somewhere else in the world and you're thinking about coming here to America, well, hey, when you get here, just understand, when you become an American citizen, and even when you're not, you will be the furthest thing from the minds of the people who supposedly represent the American citizen. Watch how Congress has mortgaged the future of America. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.